Demon Souls for PlayStation 5 is the remake of the original release in 2009. I've never been a huge fan of these Soulsborne games, but I do enjoy them. Liked Dark Souls 2 a lot, loved and beat Dark Souls 3, tried to play Bloodborne, but 30 FPS, and those poor frame times have kept me from going all the way. I did play the original Demon Souls back when it first launched on PlayStation 3. I enjoyed it a bit, but after beating the first boss, I felt like, I don't know if a game like this is for me, and I played it very little after the fact. Here we are, a little over a decade later, and its remake is available. Do I still feel like this one isn't for me? Let's get into it. A friend of mine was recently interested in buying a PlayStation 5 and knew that I had one. They wanted to see a few games running on the PS5, and the games I chose were The Last of Us 2 at 60 FPS, Spider-Man, and of course, Demon Souls. This Demon Souls remake was built from the ground up with the PlayStation 5 in mind above anything else. I know that there are some Souls diehards that are very particular and they probably feel like, aesthetically speaking, they may have got some things wrong with this remake. But for me, there is no question the overall level of detail 2 generations later stomps the original and most of the other Souls games into the ground. You have to take a step back and say to yourself, man, this is a Souls game. For a title like this to come out at launch with a console and look as amazing as it does, I'm very impressed with Bluepoint just based on this title alone. I watched a good handful of the developer commentaries from Bluepoint, including the NoClip and Digital Foundry videos. It wasn't just things with the visuals and, trying to get things just right as far as, aesthetics go, but I found it really interesting how a lot of the things with the original code had to be sent to them and translated by Sony. We're not just talking like a few sheets of paper here either. They had to go through tons and tons of this original code just to understand very simple things. When you play this game on PlayStation 5, if you're a big Souls fan, I think you'll be even more impressed than I am, which is saying a lot. On the technical side of things, Bluepoint has beat From Software at their own game. This game looks and runs better than any Souls game before it. Looks better is subjective, of course, because From Software still has amazing art in their games, but runs better is not subjective. Everything about this game just, it pops and is so much more responsive than everything else in the Soulsborne series. Atmosphere in this game, they have that in spades. They absolutely nailed it. So many areas in this game, and I love it personally, in some way or the other has this feeling of dread. Goes without saying that oftentimes I do prefer that more dark grittiness to a game as opposed to like a bright, vibrant type of experience. But I enjoy those too. But in this case, they've just done such a great job. Bosses, yeah, just, overall enemy types, bosses especially, insanely detailed and have a lot of attention to detail that simply wasn't possible on much older hardware. There are things on the bosses and the basic enemy types, sometimes that of the grotesque, I promise you, that hang off their bodies and you're just like, man, that's some awesome attention to detail, but at the same time I'm like, what in the hell is that? Your character, also insanely detailed, and actually, the character creation is pretty good for this game. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and probably better than most of the other Souls games. Everyone isn't going to feel this way, but I also really felt like the dragons were a big highlight for me, just the amount of detail. I can't imagine it was easy to get those just right, especially in terms of AI and things like that, on top of adding a serious amount of detail. Oh yeah, I took a lot of picks in this game, and I mean a whole lot of picks. This may be the game I've taken the most picks in for any PlayStation title ever. Particle effects, yeah, some of the best in video games. Walking through water, what little water you can find in this game, yeah, it's awesome. It looks really, really nice. Fire, some of the best in games. But you're talking to someone that's still impressed by Tomb Raider 2013's fire, so I don't know, maybe I'm easily impressed with some things. Even that bald merchant that's in the first couple of locations in the game, the detail on his face and the animations of his mouth moving, very convincing. Visually speaking, just graphics, easily a new favorite of mine as it pertains to Sony first-party games. Something about this gritty art style combined with Bluepoint's technical ability makes this really, really special. And many of you will be happy to know that this game is a rock-solid 60 FPS, but there is a native 4K option at 30 FPS. For me, this was one of those games where the level of detail at 4K wasn't enough for me to switch from 60 FPS. The 1440p option is detailed enough, and as far as I'm concerned, 60 FPS is required for these Souls games. Anything that relies so heavily on the player's timing and such, Yeah, 60 FPS or higher, especially in one of these Soulsborne titles. Conversations are happening right now, and they're asking questions like, are these games too hard? Should Soulsborne games have a difficulty option? I don't have an answer to that. I just play. Are these games challenging at times? Sure. Am I going to bitch a whole lot along the way? Sure. At the same time, can I still play some of these games and believe that some of the enemies are poorly designed and not very balanced? Sure. Even Souls diehards agree that not every enemy, not every boss has a perfect balance in these games. With that being said, yeah, I do enjoy playing some of these games. This remake and Dark Souls 3 are a little bit more for me. I do like the speed at which they play at, but Soulsborne games, to me, test your patience a lot more than your skills as a gamer. That's how I've always seen it. Simple mechanics to understand, but I feel there's a deep curve when it comes to how these mechanics work properly and what you can do to maximize your build. I'll be honest, I still don't fully understand the mechanics of these games. I know that we have things like light attacks, and I love the sound effects on some of the attacks in this game, by the way. There is this gritty punchiness to it that other Souls games are missing, and it just makes the combat so much more enjoyable. We can also heavy strike with another button. We can do a step back and quickly press attack for a different move. We can guard or block and also parry with another button. And I'll say, just more so than the other Souls games I've played, parrying in this game is so satisfying when it works as intended. Trying to perfect that parry system and mastering each and every enemy's movesets with perfect timing is a whole other ballgame. So no, I haven't done that. I've come nowhere close to mastering any of these Souls games, but I feel pretty good about beating them. Making my way all the way through the game is more than enough to make me feel like, damn, that was a pretty awesome game. That's what Souls games are. I used to think that these games were made for some type of special masochist or something, but it's really just patience in the end. It's simple. Like other Souls games, you move through an area, you clear that out. It usually ends with you facing off against one of the game's many bosses. It's the process of getting to those bosses, the journey of getting to those bosses in Demon Souls that's truly challenging and a lot more fun to me than the bosses themselves. And while I do think patience is key, memory plays a huge part in these games. You may think that your build is pretty good. You may think your memory's on point, and then you get past this one 10-minute section of the game that was giving you fits only for them to throw an enemy type at you that you haven't seen before at random. They may come out of the walls, they may come out of any damn where, a place that you didn't know until you get owned. I was feeling pretty confident at one point during this playthrough, just taking out all kinds of various enemy types, and then I walk down this corridor and out jumps this Jean-Claude Van Damme enemy type with karate kicks and dagger throws. He doesn't look like much, but those guys do a hell of a lot of damage. You're pissed off when shit like that happens, but at the same time, it's a lot of fun and you realize this is why I'm playing this game. This is why I'm enjoying a Souls game. Less so with Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3. My time with the Demon Souls remake has taught me one thing that I didn't learn before. These games can be played in a straight line. You can go through and complete the first area and move directly to the second one, so on and so forth. And what I learned is, it's not really about that. You can take that path, but that's not how these games were intended to be played, at least not to me. These games were meant to be enjoyed at a pace and in a way that the player, you guys, see fit. If you're struggling in 1-3, for example, and you want to go see what the rest of the worlds offer, maybe there will be a really nice weapon in 3-2 that will help you suffer less in some areas in 1-3, then you can do that. I make no promises that you'll succeed, and you'll likely have to suffer a bit more to get what you want. But some of the items are worth it, and that's without upgrading anything. My particular build for my first playthrough was not very good. I can admit that. A lot of that is admittedly my fault for not researching more about how some of these mechanics and the leveling works. But I also feel that, and this is just me personally, these games don't do a great job of explaining why the current weapon I'm using isn't as effective as it could be. You try to equip a weapon and you don't have the proper skills, you don't have the proper leveling for it, and the game will tell you, hey, this isn't as effective as it should be. I don't feel like these games do a great job of explaining why the current weapon I want to use isn't as effective as it could be. If you go to equip it, it'll say, hey, this isn't going to work properly, but they don't tell you why. They don't tell me which stats I need to level up to get to that point, but that's again me not fully understanding the mechanics of the game and not doing enough research. I wish I didn't have to leave the game for a moment and go and look a few things up and how to maximize my build for this particular weapon or that particular weapon, or just say, oh, the hell with it altogether, because what I'm trying to do with this weapon isn't the same as this weapon, so I can't use both. I could, but one of them isn't going to be nearly as effective. Another example of that would be like, I really wanted to use daggers in this playthrough. I really like daggers in this game. Maybe I can do a lot more damage with this particular dagger if I add more strength, which is true. But I didn't know, with some daggers, with some weapons, you can do a lot more damage by upping things like dexterity a bit. It's just different weapons, different stats, different things that you need to level on your end. So it's all, I just wish it was better explained within the game. Again, I enjoy playing. I love the whole process of everything that these games do, but I am missing something when it comes to leveling up and just doing insane amounts of damage. What I did know from the very start is that I wanted very little to do with magic. If the game was going to force magic on me in some way, I just knew that I didn't want to use it very much, if at all. So for the most part, I was able to avoid that entirely. I think one thing that helped, and it just sort of happened this way, is I don't even know where you acquire the spells in these games, so that's good. That's good for me because I want nothing to do with that. I just want physical damage. That's it. I'm sure with like the spells, it was some dialogue option I missed, or the fact that, I didn't talk to an NPC more than 1 or 2 times. Like I said, for spells, it didn't matter anyway because I wanted nothing to do with them. But again, going back to what I was saying with leveling and mechanics in the menu with the inventory system and all of that, this is a really awesome remake, but like other Souls games, they don't explain some of these things very well, if at all. I wouldn't have known without a little bit of research that the blacksmith in 2.1 won't let you upgrade to superior upgrades until you give him a special item. That and the fact that you need to spark a few conversations with him for that to even be possible. With all of that, though, it's actually a bigger shame, a damn shame I didn't look up how to better my average build instead of some of these other things like items and such. It's a damn shame. Those things would have been far more beneficial to my build and overall playthrough. But there are other things too. There's some items in the game that you can't even get without doing these very specific things that involve doing something that you didn't even know that you could do. Like take the all-white world or the pure black world thing. Unless I missed it, this stuff is not explained, but I also don't believe it was in other Souls games I've played. And this is a really, really cool mechanic. This is a really cool feature. This all-white, pure black thing, it's pretty cool. In some ways, it laid the foundation on how they would do other Souls games after it, and it's pretty cool. So for those that aren't aware, it's very interesting stuff. If your world is pure white, things are quite a bit easier for you in terms of the level of challenge. The downside to pure white, and I believe I'm getting this right, is the chance for very rare and useful items is significantly lower than having a pure black world. That's the upside to having a pure black world. The downside to a pure black world is that enemies do more damage, and there's actually more dangerous enemy types that spawn in as a result of having that pure black world. But it doesn't stop there. There are even more perks to having a pure white or a pure black world. One or the other. I think some of the weapons and the armor types aren't even possible depending on which color your world currently is. Some NPCs may not even show up or be more aggressive depending on these factors. That's crazy to me, but also kind of exciting because I do feel like it encourages more playthroughs. I love it. I do, but at the same time, like you guys, I'm like, this would have been really cool to know from the very start. And you wouldn't know it without looking it up, but like it's simple things that allow, an all-white world or a pure black world to happen. Like if you're doing really well, you're killing bosses nonstop, you're not dying a whole lot, your world is going to be white. If you're dying a whole lot, if you're struggling a bit, then you're going to have a pure black world. It really sucks for me me because I don't know why it happens, but it does. But when I'm playing, I always seem to find out about this really cool stuff when I'm about to complete the game. Little simple changes that, may be different if you've played some of the Dark Souls games or Bloodborne, or you're coming off of Elden Ring. I'm not sure. I haven't played Elden Ring yet. We will get to that. But, gone are the flasks of the Dark Souls games. I remember playing this on PS3 when it first came out, but I guess I forgot that things like healing your character are done with more plant-based items. Not that something like that is a huge deal. It's not going to impact anyone's playthrough in any significant way, but it's going to be different for those that are coming off of some of the other games. One of the biggest complaints when people are playing these Souls games is no doubt that they're dying, and they're dying a lot. You are going to die a lot, and some more than others. That's just the nature of the beast. Before I started getting ready for this review, I started a completely new playthrough where I was able to beat the first boss they throw at you on the first try. Didn't even touch me, actually maybe once. This is only a test for me, but since I did it on the first try, the game threw me into a section with the Dragon God just to make sure that I died anyway. I was rewarded with some nice items before I died, but what in the hell? Like, come on, man, does that happen in the original game? I didn't play it enough, I can't remember back far enough. If you beat the Vanguard Demon, does From Software's version of the game throw an even more difficult boss at you to guarantee death? With all of that said, though, the hardware in the PlayStation 5, it's hard to complain much about dying because you get right back in the action faster than all of the other games. Load in from dying, extremely fast. Load in a new world when you get tired of struggling in another is really fast. Little things like that, load times, especially in games like these, not only make for a very seamless experience, but a better experience for everyone playing. No more waiting, as Sony used to say. Where am I at with the bosses in Demon Souls? I still think the journey to the boss is so much more interesting and can be a lot more challenging depending on the area, the game that we're talking about, and the boss that we're talking about. That being said, I don't know if I'm just getting slightly better at these games in terms of the combat and fighting bosses, but I didn't struggle much with Demon Souls. I didn't struggle much at all. I found the bosses in this game and some of the more basic enemy types to be on the easier side of the Souls games that I've played. That's not a knock on this game at all. I'm not trying to slight Demon Souls in any way. I loved playing this game. And while some of the bosses were a lot easier for me than other Souls games, there's no denying that they're well designed. From their amazing visuals to their movesets, this was by far my favorite for overall boss fights. The Dancer from Dark Souls 3 is probably still my favorite design in all of Souls games, but I absolutely love what they did here with this remake. Tower Knight, yeah. I mean, for some of you guys, you probably beat him on the first try or the first, 5. He was a struggle for me. My second or third biggest struggle, it's one of those things. I couldn't figure it out. I have got to remember that a lot of bosses in these games, they have a gimmick of some kind. And once you learn what that gimmick is, you can exploit it and use it to your advantage. Yeah, Tower Knight gave me problems. It is what it is. I had to leave and visit some of the other worlds before returning. I was trying to just go down that straight line that I talked about, but I was like, you know what? I'll come back when I'm a little more beast and maybe I have a slightly better weapon or two. So that's exactly what I did. I am terrified of spiders. There's just, if you know me, you know the deal, but I can't deny Armor Spider had one of the better designs, but I beat him and Flame Lurker on the first try. I felt pretty good about that, considering one of my friends told me that Flame Lurker is actually supposed to be one of the more challenging in any Souls game ever. Others, I enjoyed fighting them, but it was more about their design and the work that went into making them look cool for modern hardware. Old Hero, that's one of the better examples because I really like his design. That guy is fucking awesome, and once you learn his gimmick, you're like, okay, this is kind of piss easy, but he looks really cool. Like, the visuals are amazing. Dragon God is insane because his size is ridiculous. I've already died 3 times to this guy. What is the gimmick? What the hell am I missing? He looks cool. The level of detail is amazing, but he's pissing me off. Then I found out what I was doing wrong and I felt stupid after the fact. The beginning sections of the game do what a lot of good games do. The developers are intentionally setting you up while also trying to show you what to expect when you play these games. I do not feel that these games are for everyone. The Soulsborne games, they are not. They're just simply not for everyone. But if you were going to get into the series based off of the ones that I've played, I think that this is the best starting point. The first boss encounter, the one after you die, is also piss easy and very easy to exploit, but back in the day, something about the game at the time wasn't grabbing me. The OG Demon Souls simply wasn't interesting enough to me, and maybe it's one of those things where it's the right game, wrong time kind of thing. From a gameplay and challenge standpoint, there is still a lot to learn, even for me, and I've already beaten this game. But Demon Souls Remake is an awesome starting point, and I would highly recommend it just based on gameplay alone.
By channeling the power of souls, brought unprecedented prosperity to his northern kingdom of Boletaria. That is, until the colorless deep fog swept across the land.
I never spoil or talk in great length about stories in these reviews, but as far as major plot holes and plot points, these Souls games don't do enough to say one way or the other. Hey, Icy, is this amazing storytelling with amazing writing? I mean, I don't really feel like you can say that with these games. I'll say this game more than any of the others taught me something about these Souls games, and now I think I get it. There is a story there, but you have to do a little bit of research and use your imagination a bit. And what I mean is, the story is told as you play. The story is in the environments. It's in the atmosphere. It may be the way a section of the game is designed. It may be the dead knight's belongings that you see up against the wall. And that's what I mean by finally understanding. I don't play these games for some amazing, well-written, award-winning experience anyway. I doubt there are many people that care about a story playing a Soulsborne game or the latest Elden Ring for that matter. We play because it's fun. There also aren't a million of these types of games available. The Demon Souls Remake is, for me, one of the games to own if you're buying a PlayStation 5. I'm saying that knowing that these games aren't for everyone. But it was made with the PS5's hardware in mind above everything else and is easily now one of my favorite first-party games from Sony. I really want to do another playthrough for this game, and it's kind of like an itch that I need to scratch because I feel like it's already coming soon. But I want to put more effort into understanding how to level my character better when it comes to the weapons and the stats that I'm choosing to use. I think it's that good. I really do. I also know that, again, it's hard to recommend everyone go out and play a game like this if you own a PlayStation 5 or you plan to get a PlayStation 5, but at the same time, I'm still going to do it. At least rent it and check it out and just see how amazing the load times and the visuals and the effort that went into making this game are, and then maybe, playing it for an hour or two will convince you, you know what, I kind of like this game, I'm gonna go out and support the developer, I'm gonna buy this game now. Yes, it's that good. I'm gonna give Demon Souls a 10 out of 10. I was really close to thinking about like a 9 or maybe a little bit higher, like a hard 9, not like a soft 9, but like a hard 9, just because I think these games need to do a better job at explaining some of the mechanics, some of the features to allow players to do a lot more with their build. I do think they could benefit from that, and we the players obviously benefit from that, but it's a 10. I can't find much wrong with this remake at all. Thank you guys so much for watching, man. I do appreciate it. You guys know that I do. Share this video, like this video, put it on your Twitter, put it on your Facebook. It all helps me in the algorithm. It's just much appreciated. You guys have no idea how much little things like that help me. Another review coming soon from a game that I spent a crazy amount of time on. Looking back, it's not like a crazy amount of time, but considering I beat the game like 4 or 5 times in a row and couldn't really put it down, it was like the only game I was playing for the most part for like a week. Yeah, that review coming soon. Can't wait to share it with you guys. It's going to be great. Take care. Have a good one. Peace.